Everybody loves a good underdog story. Whether it's in sports, a movie, or even your favorite book, there's something so right about rooting for that character with the odds pitted against him, or cheering for that team that the news says has no chance of winning that championship. And that's exactly what we're going to cover today, a true underdog story. One where I'm going to prove to you that truly anything's possible. No matter where you start, you can climb to great heights. And I know how cliche that sounds, but when worded correctly, the truth is never a cliche. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. I'm your host, Ryan O'Connor, and I want to tell you guys a pretty crazy story. It has everything to do with this stethoscope that is around my neck. Okay, so let's start all the way from the beginning. So I was born on December 4th, 1990. Nah, I'm just messing. We're not going to start that far back, right? But we are going to start with this piece of paper that I have here. Little show and tell. This is my high school transcript, and I kept it for very good reason. Essentially what it's showing is that I barely graduated high school. My cumulative GPA was 2.067. You need a 2.0 to graduate high school, meaning I graduated with 0.067 to spare. My parents were extremely proud. Also, my class rank was 438 out of 529. So starting here is very important. As you can see, I was not a good student. I did not apply myself. I barely graduated high school. Therefore, I did not get into a good college. So what did I do? Well, I did what most people said was very smart, but it was just mainly because I had to do it, which was I went to a community college for 2 years. But I also was not applying myself, did not care, had no path, right? I didn't know what I wanted to study, didn't know a school that I even wanted to go to, like an actual college. So guess what? I got kicked out of my community college on academic probation. Yep, even the community college was rejecting me. I couldn't get my grades up enough, and they said, sayonara, Sammy. So I left, and I actually applied to another community college. I moved up to Boulder, Colorado, and I did okay there. I went there for another year, so this is already 3 years of community college. And when I was there, I was starting to kind of figure out maybe what I wanted to do a little bit. I was really into sports at the time. I actually wanted to do communications, try to be like a sport broadcaster, right? Me on ESPN, Sports Center, that'd be sick. So after I figured this out, I did actually start applying myself a little bit more. Still had terrible grades at this community college, but I knew that I actually wanted to move to Fort Collins and go to CSU, right? Colorado State University, go Rams, baby. So I applied expecting, hey, it's not that competitive a school. I'm a resident, these kind of things, I should get in. Nope, rejected. So I moved to Fort Collins, and guess what? I bet you can guess. I went to another community college. Yep, third time's a charm. That's what they say, right? So I knew exactly what I had to do. I knew the classes I had to take, which grades I had to get up, and I did it. So when I got accepted, I was scrolling through, going through my application on CSU, doing all the paperwork, blah, blah, blah. And it asks you, because I was coming in already kind of late, to declare my major. And right, the whole plan was up until this point, communications, right? I'm gonna be a sport broadcaster on ESPN, cool deal. But for the past year or two, I was really getting into working out, really diving deep into like the nutrition of it, how to build muscle, helping some of my friends. They were kind of seeing the progress because, as many of you know who have been watching me for a while, I used to be the skinniest skater kid. I'm still skinny, but I was skin and bone, right? And so were many of my friends. So when I started kind of on this path of building muscle, looking different compared to literally just radius, ulna, and humerus sticking out of my body, actually having some meat on the bones, so to speak, people started asking. And I was like, okay, actually I really like this. It's very fun. I was very addicted to the gym. So literally that night, I was scrolling through and I clicked on communication. I started filling out and I was like, hold on, man, hold on. Like maybe there's some sort of other, science or health and exercise. Yeah, guess what? I scrolled down. There's literally a degree called health and exercise science. Boom, clicked it, didn't even think about it. I was like, yep, this is me. It just felt so right. And for me, I am a religious guy. So this is one of those moments in life where something feels so right, so ingrained that to me, that's my plan. So I started studying sports and exercise science at CSU. That's why I have this next stack of papers here. So there's a lot of weed out classes, right? There's chemistry 1, chemistry 2, biochem, organic chemistry. And essentially these are all for, hey, if you can't pass these in college, it basically tells you that you're not gonna be able to go on to these graduate level programs and do well. I don't know, I guess I was just so addicted to the whole thing that And I knew I had to prove myself. Coming in, it was a fresh slate. I literally had a 0 GPA. In my first semester, I literally crushed every single weed out class and all the core health and exercise science classes. Like literally on some of my chemistry tests, I was getting 100%. I don't know what the heck came across me, but that's where these papers come in. So I think I had more than this, but I saved 3. So this first one, June 9th, 2016. Dear Ryan, congratulations. It is my pleasure to inform you that your academic performance during spring semester 2016 merits the inclusion of your name on the Dean's academic list and indicates only those students in the College of Health and Human Sciences who completed at least 12 credits for a traditional grade during the semester and earned a minimum of 3.75 GPA. You can be proud of this accomplishment. Keep up the good work. So that's one. Here's another one from the next semester. And here's another one for the following semester. There's part of the underdog story already, as I went from this 2.067, barely graduating high school, to, hey Ryan, be proud of your accomplishment. You got a 3.75 or higher GPA. So after about 2 semesters with health and exercise science, there's 2 paths you can go. One is sports medicine, the other is health and human sciences or something. With the sports medicine, that's physical therapy, occupational therapy, medicine, right? So nurses, doctors, PAs, and NPs, like I mentioned before. Health and human sciences, that's a lot more like personal training, maybe working at a gym, like these kind of things are like corporate wellness, okay? This path, sports medicine, is way harder. There's a lot more rigorous weed out classes that you take after the initial weed out classes, and this one is just objectively easier. It just is. So I met with my counselor, in my mind thinking there's no way that I could do sports medicine and become a doctor or things like this because my past, right? I got a terrible GPA, I barely graduated high school, kicked out of community college, you know the story. So I met with my counselor, explained to her. She said, hey, what do you want to do? I said, honestly, I don't know, like what can I do? And she's like, okay, pulled up my GPA. She's like, okay, yeah, like this past is not good. And she's like, but as long as you have that upward trajectory, a lot of schools can see that and they can basically see past and like, okay, he really turned it on when it came time to turn it on, essentially. And so after she said that, I was like, so you're saying there's a chance I can get into medical school and become a doctor with my history, right? With my academic history. She's like, yeah, if you keep up what you're doing, it is entirely possible. And you know, it's one of those things that for the first 2 semesters is kind of ruminating because we are learning a lot of anatomy, physiology, right? And these are all things, so diseases and how the body works. And I was like, oh, just freaking, it sounds so nerdy, but I loved it. I literally, for physiology, human physiology, I went back and tutored for the, 6 semesters after I took it, just because I loved learning it so much that I wanted to just keep learning it and teaching it to other people. Because I had fleeting thoughts going through this, yeah, it would be really cool to be a doctor. That'd be a very fulfilling career. I think I'd be really good at it. I know I'm more personable than some of the doctors that you probably see on a day-to-day basis. So I think I'd bring a little something different to the table. Also, I kind of stick out, say in an application type setting. They're like, what the hell? Like, why is this guy applying? Not to mention, I've had some criminal history, light criminal history, nothing crazy, but those things I had to also report to get into CSU, get into the next couple schools that I will be telling you about that I had to apply to. So these kind of things were kind of holding me back. I'm like, nah, that doesn't even seem possible. So when she said that, I was like, you're telling me that I can do this. If I keep doing what I'm doing, I can be a doctor. She's like, yeah. And that moment right there, I was like, okay. Because to me, that's the underdog story for my life, is like, hey, I can prove all these, not necessarily people, but like all these systems that are trying to put me into a certain way and put me into a box. Like, if I just try hard enough and do what I need to do, and yeah, it was very tough. Guys, when I was doing this at CSU, was I partying? No. I was literally studying Monday through Sunday. And the reason I say that is because, as you see with my academic history, I'm not the smartest, but I truly think if you work hard enough, and obviously I was passionate about it. It wasn't like I was like every day hating what I was studying. No, I freaking loved it. Not all of it, right? OChem and stuff was cool, but it's not like, yes, like let's go study OChem. But it does show you that with hard work, you don't have to be the smartest. I was not the smartest, and we're gonna get to that very soon. So I graduated from CSU with a degree in health and exercise science with a specialty in sports medicine. And I graduated with magna cum laude, right? Had a special robe. It was kind of embarrassing, but it was really cool. Then my parents were actually proud, right? When they saw that. So I still didn't have enough of a history, right? Of good grades to get into med school. So I know I needed to actually go for a master's degree. So I applied to a master's program at CSU that is specifically not a thesis-driven program. It is you go for 1 year to get really good grades to then apply to medical school. So I applied to a toxicology master's program, and I did get accepted with a caveat. And to this day, I thank her so much, is Dr. Laguerre. I'm gonna shout her out. She had to essentially fight for me to get in. So I applied, it's like through this whole, it's the biophysiology school, right? BMS school. And they rejected me initially, like the head of the school. But she was the head of the toxicology program, and she met with me. We ate at some like calzone place before I was accepted, right? I was like, this is strange. She reached out, she wanted to meet with me. I talked to her, she's like, hey, yeah, like your application is not ideal, but I want you in our program on these conditions. So essentially, I came in with academic probation, that if I got below, I think it was a 3.75, so basically the Dean's List average, if I got below that on either semester, because it was only 2 semesters, I'd be kicked out. I was like, okay, yeah, that's fine, I can do that. Which is really cool that she fought for me. Like all these steps just started feeling like very surreal. Like, holy crap, like what? This is so random. She doesn't know me. I did 1 semester in the toxicology program, got a 4.0, so obviously I didn't get kicked out. I then applied to, I don't know, 5 or 10, which is kind of low for medical school, because if any of you guys know anything about applying to medical school, I mean, some of my friends, it was like 50, 60, 70 schools, right? It's insane, the amount of applications you have to, like the costs and all that. But I applied to medical school after 1 semester, got rejected from every single school except for one. One gave me a chance. They wanted to give me an interview. This was Idaho College of Osteopathic Medicine in Boise. So, all right, cool. I got 1 shot. Let's see what happens. Fly out to my interview. Guess what? They're asking, so I had 3 interviewers, and I think 2 of the 3 asked specific questions. Why were your grades so bad? What's this paraphernalia, criminal ticket that you have, right? These kind of things. Explain yourself, essentially, right? And they're like, here it is, man. What do you got for us? Okay, I was very honest. I was forthcoming with what happened in the past and basically told them how I turned it around and why I turned it around. Okay, so now on to the part where I essentially quit medical school. So I get accepted, move out to Boise. First 2 years are all classwork. And if any of you guys have heard or seen memes about medical school, they always tell you this, that especially the first 2 years, but the entirety of medical school is essentially like drinking through a fire hose. So if you can imagine, that is a lot of water that you cannot consume, right? And I also remember during orientation week, they told us everything you will learn in these first 2 years, because that's specifically classroom stuff, you will have to relearn by the time you're graduating, because the way that we're getting information now is so fast, with obviously with AI, obviously with just how much research we can do, all that, right, our science technology. And I was like, holy crap. So like everything I'm learning, I'm gonna have to relearn. But first 2 years, I did fine. I did good. I was passing all my classes. Because I think a lot of people like, oh, like Ryan quit medical school, you probably failed out. No, I didn't fail out. I did good. I could have done better. I quickly realized that I didn't love medicine. I didn't love studying medicine. I love physiology and anatomy, but we obviously had to learn all the medicine. So after the first 2 years, what you do is you get sent for your 3rd and 4th year to rotation sites. And this is when you really become basically a doctor, right? And yeah, at first it was actually really cool. I was wearing my cool little white coat. I was wearing this every single day, right? My stethoscope. I was going in, hello sir, hello ma'am, can I listen to your hearts and lungs? But it still started wearing on me that I didn't love it. I didn't want to go home after a whole day of working for 8 to 9 hours at the hospital and then study like my preceptor told me, hey, you got to read this on GI bleeds, or you got to read. Like, it was just a nonstop grind, and you have to, in my opinion, either just absolutely hate yourself or you do have to really love the study of medicine. And for me, I just didn't. I didn't love it. I knew from the day I got accepted in med school exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a sports medicine physician, and I wanted to own my own practice that had an integrated gym, similar to the one behind me, but much bigger, much larger scale, and work with athlete populations. That's exactly what I wanted to do. But you have to wade through every single rotation, every single specialty. So OBGYN, I did not want to do that. Peds, you know what my pediatric rotation preceptor told me after? She said, well, it's very clear that you don't want to be a pediatrician. I was like, okay, thank you, but it's true. I didn't want to be anything besides a sports medicine doctor. And it just kept wearing on me, doing all these rotations. Like, I don't want to do this. And I would have had to do minimum 3 years of family medicine and then 1 year fellowship to get into sports medicine. And I just really had a hard time seeing myself doing this. I talked to a lot of people. When I was going through this, when I was even like toying with quitting, right? I had a lot of friends in medical school. I had a lot of confidants outside of medical school. I obviously went to the ultimate confidant, which is Reddit, right? Good Reddit posts. And yeah, basically a lot of people had my very similar experience. And I saw those stories of, actual doctors quitting. But for me, what it really came down to was 3 things. 1, I didn't love it. I knew that if I graduated, I'd be a good doctor, right? I know I would be. I was a good doctor. I was very good to my patients. When I was in rotations, I was a good student. But I wouldn't be as good of a doctor as I possibly could be. And I knew that I would regret that every day when I was actually taking care of patients, when I was, full-fledged DO, these kind of things. I would not want me to be my own doctor because I wasn't giving everything I had, like, in my opinion, like you should for medicine. It is a full-time job, it is your life. Everything, you need to dedicate everything. You have to be at the hospital all day and then come home at night and still study. And I just didn't want to do that. I want to go to the gym, I want to do these other things, right? That was number 1. Number 2, I was actually, the second year of med school, started getting some really crazy health problems with stomach stuff. It led to like gnarly insomnia. I've covered in some of my Whoop videos where my Whoop told me during that time that I was falling asleep on average, I think it was 4 hours later than people in my age cohort, which is insane. So I was dealing with gnarly health issues. I tried to fix those for so long. I went to so many different doctors, so many different specialists, and it just wasn't, I don't know, no one was able to fix it. It was very frustrating too, when I was becoming a doctor, the doctors couldn't help me with what I thought was a pretty simple problem. Like, hey, I have this thing, please fix it. You've ran all the tests, you've done all of this blood work imaging, like, what's up, So that was kind of disheartening, right? It's like, well, these people can't even help me, and I'm trying to go out and do this thing. And so that was 1. 2 is the health problems. And 3, it also just happened to be right during the pandemic when I was in rotations. And that was just a crazy time for obviously all of us. The mental health of just isolation, and obviously I was away from all my friends and family. And I know this sounds kind of like, oh, poor. No, I'm not trying to paint it that way. I'm just being real. We all had our own thing. I was already going through all these things, and then COVID came. In Great Falls, Montana, which is not ideal. I was in the hospital system. I mean, that was a very, very stressful time. How many people were not able to even get rooms? There was beds in the hall. It was just insane, right? That was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, because I did an ER rotation, and essentially how that one worked was you did, I think it was 6 days in a row. Say I'd do like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Okay, cool deal, that's not bad. But then you'd take maybe a day, or maybe it was the next day I had to start, and they'd just flip you, and you do 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. So obviously with my sleep, and I've also covered in my Whoop videos, I need my sleep, guys, need it. So when they basically are like, yeah, so good luck, you're not gonna sleep tonight for the next 6-7 days, and then we're gonna flip you again, I was just like, man, I don't know, this just isn't worth it. So I basically tried to quit, just straight out, emailed the preceptors, hey, yeah, this isn't for me, blah, blah, I'm not gonna show up. And then of course, dean of my college and all these people like, yeah, you can't just quit. They reached out and like, we arranged this whole leave of absence. So I did a leave of absence for 6 months where I basically came back home, thought about everything, right? What am I gonna do? Do I actually wanna do this? Is medicine for me? What other jobs could I have? So many different factors, right? After 6 months, went back to Great Falls, Montana, and just instantly I knew, like, especially being recharged again, right? I was getting good sleep, these kind of things. I was feeling good. I went back basically after a week. I was like, no, I just knew in my bones there's nothing you could convince me. I knew that this wasn't for me. So took this off, retired it. It's been sitting on my shelf ever since. So I completely flipped it. I got a sales job and I'm trying to build this thing called Iron Health Fitness. A coaching and fitness company that truly stands for something, truly what I believe in, right? We all know the problems that are out there in terms of our health and fitness, especially in America. And that was another thing with the medicine is like, people are not getting better. It is sick care, it is not health care. And that's what it frustrated me so much is, obviously it's called medicine, but that's all we really learned was how to give medicine to fix people, which is fine. But truly the problems that we're having right now in America and in the world are preventable. They're not, hey, you need to cure this with a pill. It is preventable stuff. And that was really the main cause for making this channel is I get that the education is hard to attain. It's out there, but it's still like it takes effort to really dig through because there's a lot of marketing. There's a lot of things that are basically lying to you and packages of food and fitness and, right? So I really want to help you guys wade through all that BS and get down to the big things that we can control and really have strong health outcomes because of that and change your life. Because without fitness, I would truly be a mess, guys. It was because of fitness that I stopped drinking, doing things that I shouldn't have been back in the day. I got so addicted to the gym and learning about everything that it was like, all right, if I drink, I'm not gonna have a good of a workout. And if I drink, it affects my recovery, which affects muscle protein synthesis, which means less gains. Now, obviously not everyone's gonna be like me, but even small things will truly change how you feel, how you view yourself, how others view you, how good of a partner. I could go on and on. So if you take nothing away from this video, let's take two things. One, doesn't matter where you start. Truly, like I truly believe if you find the right thing, you find your right purpose, you can make it somewhere. That doesn't mean you won't quit, right? Like I quit, obviously. So it's kind of like an underdog story of making it and then like bailing out. Whatever, I have my reasons, you know them. Number two is that you need fitness. You need physical activity and you need nutrition. It will help you so much in everyday activities. You don't even realize how much better you can feel every single day when you're doing these things. There is no quick fix. You shouldn't go to the doctor for a pill to fix the things that you can prevent. And that's why I'm here to help you guys. I know it's hard. I'm not consistent. I skip workouts still. I eat crappy meals. This morning I had 4 pieces of French toast. That was not healthy. But consistency is key. Over time, if you make the right decision, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna get there. So that's why I'm here. I wanna help you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed that story. Until next time.